dangerous security incident in Gaza, Abu Ubaida issues a statement on Israeli prisoners. So the Palestinian resistance has been escalating its attacks on the Israeli terror forces inside of the Gaza Strip, with attacks that we spoke about yesterday coming in the areas of Khan Yunis, the Palestinian resistance targeting multiple machinery, vehicles, bulldozers. And now Israel is confirming that there was this attack in North Gaza. In North Gaza, there was an ambush from the Palestinian resistance, a tunnel opening. Some Israeli genocide soldiers came close, explosion. One of them was killed. And as a matter of fact, for the first time in a very long time, Israel is confirming that they lost one of their genocide soldiers in that attack alongside female fighters, as if it makes a difference, male or female. You're in a genocide army, but male or female. But is that supposed to attract sympathy for them participating in the genocide and infanticide in Gaza? So Israel is confirming. So there was a tunnel opening. Some of the Israeli forces who claimed that they took it down over a year ago. This is in an area called Beit Hanun, the closest city next to the Israeli borders, just a couple of hundreds of meters from Israel. And there was an Israeli force over there. The Palestinian resistance attacked them. And they had another bomb planted to be detonated half an hour later, and that caused even more damage. They called it a serious incident. Many helicopters were seen moving from the Gaza Strip, the northern part of the Gaza Strip, heading towards Belinson Hospital in an area called Petah Tikva inside of Israel. So, very serious incident is usually when we're talking about dozens of casualties, not like one or two. But, of course, there's clearly heavy censorship inside of Israel. But what they couldn't hide is this image. This is an image that came from Israel about this ambush that happened inside of the Gaza Strip. You can see it says in Hebrew here, security news from the field without censorship. This is one of the Telegram accounts, by the way, saying in Hebrew, and they post pictures of incidents that happen without the Israeli military trying to censor everything. So clearly, look at that level of explosion. Is that something that one or two people, that's a massive attack. That's in North Gaza. That's in the area that was destroyed first, by the way, Beit Hanun. It's an area that Israel turned into rubble back in October 2023, only for them later on to declare, well, that this, of course, dismantled Hamas over there, and that they killed the Hamas, the armed wing of Hamas commander of Beit Hanun, only for him to reappear between the people after the ceasefire took effect. And that shocked Israel, and Israel faced a lot of problems. They were put in the corner after so many leaders of brigades from the armed wing of Hamas showed up after the ceasefire took place. So clearly, the Palestinian resistance is very active on the borders with Israel. This is an attack. Do you know what that attack happened? That attack happened in what Israel calls the perimeter. So the security buffer zone. That means Israel did not leave that area, even when there was a ceasefire, hundreds of meters away from Israel. The Palestinian resistance in that area is able to conduct such a heavy, large attack on the Israeli terror forces. That is something extremely significant. That's something extremely significant to debunking the whole narrative of Israel. They're claiming that they dismantled them and only a few left, but now they're coming with these reports, and then again other contradicting reports in Israel that, well, now actually 20,000 Hamas fighters are remaining in Gaza. They're saying in one of the leading Israeli websites, news websites, Ynet. Where's the dismantling? Where is the dismantling, and where is all of the things that you're talking about? 20,000 remaining, and according to them, hiding in places. Well, your prime minister said that they dismantled 20 out of 24 over a year ago, and that they were going into Rafah to dismantle the remaining 4. Now, of course, at the time, we spoke about Israelis in the security establishment debunking the Netanyahu claims, and people from the Israeli army debunking the claims of Benjamin Netanyahu when he was saying that he's dismantling the Hamas brigades or the armed wing of the resistance Hamas in Gaza, because they're saying he's relying on certain information that's being provided to him by the security forces, and he is twisting the information that he's receiving. And at the time, one person in the security council in Israel, close to Benjamin Netanyahu, said that Netanyahu gets reports from the Israeli army talking about the Israeli army targeting some of the armed resistance fighters or brigades. For example, taking 50 or 100 of them, according to their claims again, because, it's Israel at the end of the day. And Netanyahu, from his side, he will treat that as a whole dismantling. So he will say, we got rid of that brigade. Why? Because Israel says, or the security sources told him at the time, we killed 50 or 100 from these sources. So Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, twists the words, and he comes up with different type of information really to suit his narrative, despite the fact that it's being debunked from Israel internally, and of course sources on the ground and sources in Israel confirming that, well, look at the level of attacks that are happening. Look at the levels of attacks that are happening. Moving on to the next thing that we wanted to talk about, which is the nuclear program of Iran and the threats that are coming from Israel to attack Iran directly itself without any need from the United States, according to them. So, multiple reports coming out from Israel and outside of Israel saying that despite Donald Trump's opposition, the Israeli army is not planning to take a step back and might attack Iran itself. And then Iran had a response. Iran had a response that, well, okay, you think you want to attack us, or you're planning to attack us. They will have a massive response, a relentless response against the state of Israel. It was initially in Reuters and a couple of other media outlets too, meaning that, well, Israel is, well, either genuinely trying to or portraying as if it's trying to attack Iran directly, despite the talks that are happening with the United States and Iran, with the third round being confirmed now to take place. Both sides talking about, well, signs of positivity and a potential to still attack Iran. And this could also be an attempt coming jointly by the United States and Israel together, pretending to be separate. And the United States is using that as leverage against Iran by showing them their barking little genocidal dog, Israel, threatening to attack them even with the United States supposedly opposing such an attack. Now, with the actual refusal or opposition of the administration in the United States for such an attack, there is something to it. Why? Because there were actual statements. There were actual statements from the previous administration, the Biden administration, not only from the political echelon, but also the military one too, saying that we won't support Israel in attacking Iran, as in we won't participate, but we will help them defend themselves. Of course, the United States were trying to protect themselves here from any repercussions coming from Iran, because any Israeli attack on Iran would be coordinated with the United States. And when Israel attacked Iran back in October, they coordinated that attack with the United States. And as a matter of fact, they used the, compromised airspace of Iraq to conduct this attack on Iran. They used the Iraqi airspace that is used by the United States forces, and they launched their fighter jets through the north, through Syria at the time, before the changes happened in Syria. Then they went to Iraqi territories, used the airspace of Iraq that is used by the United States forces, and they attacked Israel. They attacked Israel. So there has to be a coordination. There has to be a coordination, and there will be a coordination in case Israel does attack Iran. But this is most likely something coordinated, both between the United States and Israel, because the United States wants to show Iran that, well, look, they're still a threat, even if we're not threatening to target you directly now, although they did just a week ago. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump decided to do a 180, similar to the other 180s that he has done before, in hope from the United States administration to make something work, Now, all of this is coming when the families of the prisoners of war inside of Israel are having more protests and are criticizing not only Benjamin Netanyahu, but also Donald Trump. So there was a message coming from one of the father of kidnapped Nimrod Cohen, his name is, to Donald Trump. He sent him a message and he said, don't believe the lies that are coming, according to him, from the Netanyahu administration. Don't believe the lies that are coming from the Netanyahu administration. According to him, they're facing a Holocaust. Now, the Palestinian resistance, before that, Abu Ubaidah, in his report today, he said that Israel targeted another location with multiple prisoners of war and targeted it multiple times to ensure that they, as if they died, basically. Israel wants to kill more of them. This is coming just 1 week after the spokesperson of Al-Qassam said that Israel targeted Aidan Alexander, the American Israeli who was in the IDF. And by the way, all of them who are remaining in Gaza, by the way, are IDF active fighters, by the active members of the Israeli army who were kidnapped on the 7th of October. And yesterday they said, or actually today, they said that we found one of our fighters who was protecting Aidan Alexander. We found his body. We recovered his body, pulled his body, but we haven't reached Aidan Alexander yet. All of these are very, very bad signs. They're very bad signs because there is no sign, clearly no sign of hope for Aidan Alexander, a man who Israel said, well, the United States said is so important to them, with Donald Trump taking the case directly. Now, the United States are, for some reason, in a state of denial. A couple of days ago, they said he's in a very protected place inside of the Gaza Strip. And they are not confirming that he was actually killed. Well, the Palestinian resistance didn't confirm he was killed, but based on the chain of events, he is most likely killed. There is, of course, a chance that he is alive, but, not very likely. Now, the families of the prisoners of war, they are applying pressure on Trump now because they're sick of Benjamin Netanyahu. They have no faith in Benjamin Netanyahu whatsoever. From their perspective, it was the Trump administration that pushed Netanyahu to get into the ceasefire agreement. And now they're telling Donald Trump, why are you even believing Benjamin Netanyahu? This man is a liar. And you promised us you're going to get them out. Well, apply pressure on him. He's a liar and we want them out. Because the Netanyahu administration, now his spokesperson today said, the notion that we can release all of the prisoners of war in one knock is an illusion. It can't happen. It can't happen. And his excuse is, well, Hamas want us to end the war. Again, lying to the people. Lying to the people, not by saying that Hamas wants to end the war. Hamas does want to end the war, but not at any cost. But according to him, well, we don't want to end the war, basically, and we want to continue up until we eliminate the Hamas. Therefore, we want an endless war. If you want to say that we still want to eliminate them, you're still having this same statement again that was destined to be a failure from day one, because Israel tried and tested it from 2009 moving forward. Israel tried to kill Hamas since their inception in 1987, but that failed time after time, and they only grew stronger. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the man who's saying we want to eliminate Hamas, well, he was coordinating ceasefires with them before, hasn't he? And Benjamin Netanyahu had communication with Qatar, and Hamas were allowed to get hundreds of millions, if not billions, inside of the Gaza Strip because of the conditions that they imposed on Israel in previous escalations. And anyone with an ounce of knowledge knows that, an ounce of observation. We know that happened. That's not to say that Netanyahu wants Hamas or likes Hamas, or no, not whatsoever. But he reached an agreement with them. Why? Because he is interested in his survival. Therefore, if Netanyahu's survival is guaranteed, and that includes not only reaching an agreement with Hamas, but having a full peace process and sitting with them directly, he will. But he knows it's not this basis that he established himself on, or his base, or his cult. Therefore, now he wants to say that, no, we want to eliminate them up until we get all of our prisoners of war back, but we have to eliminate them too, because if we end the war, and if we withdraw our forces from the Gaza Strip, that means we will be submitting to Hamas. And according to him, and to that rationale, we will be sending a message, as in Israel, to the Palestinians and the whole world that violence works with us, and it actually doesn't. Well, guess what? History has a lot of facts that Israel only understands the language of violence, from the war with Egypt and moving on to Lebanon, and then their withdrawal from Gaza too. So Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't have a lot to stand on, back up his statements, and he is clearly interested in having an open front all the time. And despite the pressure that's coming from the prisoners of war's families to Donald Trump directly, Netanyahu clearly isn't that keen on continuing with any ceasefire talks. Up until, again, we reach a stage where the United States administration will take decisive measures and force Israel to reach a ceasefire. Now, that, combined with the pressure that is coming from Israel and the escalating tensions, is going to lead Benjamin Netanyahu to very difficult situations. So there was this one report here on TRT Global saying that families of the Israeli detainees, they're planning a big demonstration on the borders with Gaza on Sunday, with over 140,000 now signatories. Look at the petitions. We were talking about 1,000 6 days ago. Now it's 140,000. And a massive protest is being planned on the Gaza borders to end the war. Yesterday, we spoke about the Golani Brigade signatories, more pressure coming internally. And there is a limit to how much Benjamin Netanyahu can handle. And there is a limit to how long this can go on for. We always say, this cannot go on forever. The United States doesn't have indefinite time to give Israel. And Israel is, by confirmation from the IDF chief of staff, is unable to reach the objectives of the war because of the shortage that is only increasing. And with every loss that Israel is suffering now in the Gaza Strip, they're going to look even more ridiculous, because they have been warned internally, and they have the internal criticism too. And they've had many people calling to reach a ceasefire and to reach an agreement. But that still hasn't happened.